Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Oklahoma Sportscene. Hey, guys, back in the studio for a change, huh?
Man, I tell you what, we've been away forever.
I know it. And you're missing that Jimmy's Egg Breakfast and Bricktown Brewery feed, too.
But, you know, when we are there, we have a good time, don't we?
We do indeed. You guys got to come out and join us. Usually it's the second Monday of the month. We're at Bricktown at 5:30, the tape there. The one on South Peoria here in Tulsa. Then on the third Monday of the month, we're at Jimmy's Egg for Breakfast at 9 a.m., the one at 71st and Garnett there in Broken Arrow. So join us if you're all there and have a lot of fun with us. Guys, got a good show lined up for us, including one of the voices of the Cowboys for years and years. He is the real insider for Oklahoma State athletics.
I tell you, Robert Allen knows inside and out of Cowboy football. There's no question. He does the Mike Gundy show. Right. He's the sideline reporter. He helps them with senior day. I mean, He's all involved and has been for about 18 years. And, you know, he'll give us some really good inside stuff on what is going on at Oklahoma State.
And we got an insider from Oklahoma City to bring us some information on the state championship playoffs. We have many championships to decide this Friday night, JV.
Well, you know, take a look at it. Now you're talking about Jacob.
Jacob Unruh, Oklahoma.
Could I go back and just make a statement about Robert Allen?
Of course you can, yes.
You know, I can remember he told us when he started, what was it?
2000,
88,
back there with
something
West
like
Miles,
that.
yeah.
And how he has grown up on it and how he has just really been, I think, influential to the people who listen to him.
No question.
But when you talk about the Daily Oklahoman and Jacob Unruh, I want to tell you something. I think they have a very difficult job down there competing with the Tulsa World, although the Tulsa World does the printing for both of them.
And we're going to talk to Jacob about that, too, the difference between East and West here. And then you got an interesting guest. When you called me and said, Chris, I'm going to bring a guest on, and I said, oh, what's his background? I was a Tulsa police detective, homicide
detective. But I've known Dave Walker for a while and have a tremendous amount of appreciation for what he's done for this city as the lead detective for the past 7 years. He's done a tremendous job with a 98% solve rate. Ooh. Unbelievable. And that's why the first 48 really liked coming to Tulsa, because they had a conclusion to their story. But what he's doing now is he's involved with youth baseball as a bridge to bring those kids in to having an appreciation for law enforcement. And he's actually in a preschool. Now, you talk about going from homicide sites to a preschool. Wow. What a change. But Dave's a great guy, and he's going to be a tremendous mentor, I think, for these kids.
You know, and I've said this so many times because I worked so close with him at the Mabee Center during the Tournament of Champions, but he has a look, an absolute look of authority.
Yeah.
I mean, he just walks up, and suddenly the kids that were all out of order, suddenly they get in order. And he didn't say a word. And I used to just sit there and being the manager of the tournament and just admire him. And anytime that something happened, we'd get word for him to get over there. And he'd walk over and it'd all stop.
That's probably why he had a solve rate, because he just intimidated those people into
Well, if you look at him, though, when I was looking across the table at him, I suddenly was just... I'm listening.
You'll enjoy him.
Had you done something?
Yeah, you feel guilty, though.
Well, maybe.
Hot topics. I guess we got to start by recapping last week's rivalry weekend of college football. And, Coach, I was so exhausted after that Oklahoma-West Virginia game. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I texted my daughter about halftime, and I said, I'm done. I don't know if I can do a second half. But what a tremendous offensive show. And, you know, I tell you what. The defense scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, you got to give them points for that, too.
When you start talking about how bad your defense is, but to be in the right place at the right time, and they caused a fumble.
Yeah.
You know, to be able to pick it up and run it in for a touchdown, and they don't do that, they don't win the game.
Coach, a 20-game true road win streak, and Oklahoma has not lost a football game in November since 2014. That's something.
Well, they get better as the season progresses, don't they?
Yeah.
And as a result of that, do you think they're going to make the Final Four?
That's going to be quite a topic. We're going to talk more about that, too, later, because it's going to be a mess. Ohio State, Oklahoma, back rivalry, sounds again like that. We talk about Arkansas. My Mizzou Tigers beat Arkansas 38-0. Boy, what a Hogs are glad to finish this season. God bless Coach Morris over there. He'll get it going, though. He's a good coach. And Oklahoma State, oh, my gosh. You talk about the frustrations again. This is the team that beat Boise State, beat Texas, beat West Virginia, could have and should have had a chance to beat Oklahoma. and they lose Kansas State, Iowa State, Texas Tech, and then that was tough, that TCU.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you really didn't know week to week which team was going to show up.
Yeah.
Was it going to be the team that was going to play at the highest level, or was it going to be the team that just showed up? And they just showed up in Fort Worth. That was it. I mean, it was a lackluster performance. I thought Taylor Cornelius did not play well. The first 5 passes weren't even close to the receiver. And I told my wife as we watched the game, I said, it's going to be a long day for the Cowboys.
But they are bowl eligible, so we'll wait to see that's going to happen with the Cowboys on that trip. Now, I knew you had to be thrilled. Tulsa guys said goodbye to 19 seniors, closed out their final home game with a big win over SMU at Chapman Stadium.
You know, it really, and if you go back and look at the final scores of TU, they could have won 6 or 7 ball games just as easy. And maybe had they got a couple of those earlier, it would have been even better on a couple they could have won later. So I think the coaching staff has done a great job out there, and the quarterback, he'll be good next year.
Boomer, I think he is a good quarterback, and I agree with you. I think the coaching staff did a good job through a very adverse season.
Yes.
Big rivalry weekend. The big story, of course, Ohio State put 62 on Michigan, the number 1 defense in the country. So don't just talk about Big 12 in defense, folks. Auburn, of course, Alabama handled them easily. Notre Dame finished their perfect rank. They'll be in the Final Four for sure. Washington upset our friend Mike Leach in Washington State. Florida beating Florida State with a terrible season. Central Florida finishes undefeated, lose their quarterback, Mackenzie Milton. And I know they're yelling again. They were national champions last year. They now won 24 in a row. But, Coach, they just can't crack that Big 5.
You know, if you're not going to play with the big boys, you can't
tough.
Run with those dogs. And I think that's one of the things that I think I'll talk about at the end of our show today, because I think the BCS is flawed, and it does not allow an equal opportunity for good teams to get in the game. And it's all about TV. It's all about money. And until they figure out a way to do it, it's going to be those 4. And there's a couple of stats I'll give you later on that are unbelievable about that.
Well, 'tis the season to fire and hire in college athletics and football. What a stunner here at North Carolina is named Mack Brown, the former Texas coach, as a new head coach. He wants to bring on Cliff Kingsbury, who just got fired at Texas Tech, and Gene Chizik, who had a national championship at Auburn, on his staff. Washington State head coach Mike Leach, they say he's talking about going to Texas Tech, going back to Tech.
You know, he didn't sue Tech. He sued the parent at Tech.
That's right.
You know, and they wouldn't let him sue the Tech. So I think, Mike Leach is a heck of a football coach. And Lubbock is, I think, a little bit better than Pullman.
Got to get a quick word about Bob Patterson, who passed away. TU's outstanding basketball player, their first All-American, passed away at 85.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Bob and I were friends, and, his daughter was a tremendous coach out at Holland Hall, and we lost a great person.
Outstanding. By the way, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're playing great basketball right now. They're now 12-7, a half game out of first in the NBA West. And how about those Tulsa Oilers?
4 in a row over the weekend.
Yeah, swept all the weekend 4-0, and they're battling for the top spot as well. We got a lot of fun coming up here because Robert Allen is coming up for 2 segments with us, the Oklahoma State Insider. Okay, cowboy up, pistols firing. Get ready for Robert Allen on Oklahoma Sportscene, presented by Jimmy's Egg.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lovers skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, it won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
Oklahoma Sportscene wants to welcome our newest title sponsor, SNB Burger Joints, the home of fresh-made gourmet burgers and sliders, great sides, hand-dipped milkshakes, root beer and soda floats, and delicious homemade pies. All served with a fun and friendly staff, and we feature a full-service bar with over 65 beers and our unique Bloody Marys. SNB Burger Joint in the Oklahoma City area and coming soon to Tulsa.
It's November. Oklahoma is 111 years old, and it's my birthday too. So November is Henry's birthday sale. 2018 Mitsubishis have been further reduced. Save up to $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000, or you can have 0% financing for 72 months. Come in this month and receive chances to win $10,000. Nothing to buy, just in time for the holidays. Come visit the all-new Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial by Bixby.
All right, Cowboy fans, there's a couple of special segments for you coming up here. One of our great friends who go back a long ways together, Robert Allen from Oklahoma State. You see him on the sidelines, of course. You hear him on hosting Robert Allen and Friends on GoPokes.com. He's a multimedia guy. What I love about him, too, is we go some horse racing back together, too, right, Robert?
We do have a little bit of horse racing
That's
background. Right. In fact, forever was trying to get aboard Winter Communications. And you know what? I did that at Remington Park.
Right.
And then I realized, Chris, I needed more than just horse racing. So I got back into the regular sports biz. And
Channel 4, Bob Berry, legendary over there in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, back in the day. And Bob Berry Jr., may they rest in
God
peace.
bless him. That's right, yeah.
That's like another dad, and you know what?
Sure.
You were at Channel 8
right,
and then the TV biz. That becomes your family.
Absolutely, it does.
So I
spend
lost
more
two
time with them than your family.
Oh,
yeah.
More than my wife would remind me that I spent more time at the office than I did at home.
That's right,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Golly.
How we're getting into the football.
Yeah, we can get into all kinds of stuff. I can get us on tangents. Yeah, I love doing this because we can talk about anything.
But,
I can talk high school football statewide with JV. And we can talk college football.
Well, you talked about that you did the Mike Gundy show today.
Yes, I did.
How did it go?
Well, we talked about the TCU loss in the first segment, and then we jumped into a review of the season. That was a lot more pleasant. But, I enjoy dealing with Mike, and I'm probably one of the first reporters to get a crack at him after the game in the locker room. And he is not, he's not a guy that tries to sugarcoat it. I mean, he'll tell it like it is. And he told it like it was today in that first segment. He'd already watched the tape, and he's reviewed it. His coaching staff's on the road recruiting.
Yeah.
He watched it, and he said, you know what? It's the same things that I said on Saturday. We've got a linebacker that can't avoid face masks, Calvin Bundage. I don't know how many face mask penalties he had this year. And he didn't play much after that. They pretty much pulled him. He said Taylor didn't throw the ball very well. Mm-hmm. There were two really, really bad offensive halves for OSU this season, and one was, Chris and I went through this, the second half of the Kansas State game and the first half of the TCU game. But these are all things Mike will throw out, guys. He doesn't try and go past it. He's going to go take it head on. And you know what? Here's a Tulsa kid that I really love, Dylan Stoner.
Oh, yeah.
And Mike pointed out the last punt, Dylan doesn't field it. He could have fielded it at the 18. OSU was going to have about 2.5 minutes to drive the ball and either tie or go for the win. And instead, Dylan lets that punt drop. A few more seconds roll off in Gary Patterson's favor, and TCU downs it on the 4-yard line. That's you can't do that. So, again, there were a lot of errors that went into the thing on Saturday in Fort Worth.
Well, when you take a look at what's happened over there, in your mind, what do they need to do?
You know what? What I'm about to say, I don't think it'll get me in trouble. But and you guys know this. You guys have all been around this long enough. When coaches coach, and it's important. And can you get out coach? Certainly you can. But I think most of the coaches in the Big 12 all do a pretty good job. All right, now what are the other variants? Talent. And I think OSU, I know, there's been discussion, but OSU's recruited well. You don't go beat Texas and West Virginia without having talent. Okay? But then the other thing is, in my opinion, player leadership. And when those kids, Mason Rudolph, James Washington, Brad Lundblade, Zach Crabtree, Chad Whitener at middle linebacker, Trey Flowers, who's playing a storm up in Seattle for the Seahawks, when those guys walked out the door, they took their talents, but they were also all really good leaders, real good leaders. And this senior class, for whatever reason, I don't think developed as many leaders. So inside that locker room, when the coaches aren't pushing and talking, who's talking? And Taylor Cornelius, who I think he's a great story. Loyal, stayed for 5 years to get his one shot. but he was a backup. Well, backup quarterbacks, they're not the vocal guy in the locker room, especially when the starter, Mason, and Mason was a demonstrative guy. So Taylor's, that's not his natural personality. So now you have a quarterback who's certainly got talent and given you everything he's got this year, but he's not that guy on the field when things are going bad that he gets in the huddle and says, guys, we got to get it done here. And everybody says, oh, well, yeah, we do. I think that's lacking. And I'll tell you a story about Saturday night in Fort Worth.
Right.
Mike Gundy is, unlike his mentor, Pat Jones, I called Pat the creative cusser. Because Pat could string some words together, and I'd say, I've never heard those together. You know what? He made them go together. And I love Pat. But Pat was that kind of guy. Mike is not. So when Mike drops a cuss word, players know, okay, he's really hot.
Your attention.
Well, after the game in Fort Worth in the locker room, there were a couple of those. And there were that statement he has after a loss. Guys, there's nothing here to celebrate. Get your showers, get your stuff on, get packed up, let's go to the bus, let's go home. There's no need to talk and laugh or giggle. Wow. And the last thing he said was, anybody else have anything to say? Well, it was one of those, and I remember from coaches, okay, coach really doesn't want to hear anything. He really doesn't feel like anybody should say anything. But one of the players, right, said, Coach, I got something. And I'm kind of, it was Chuba Hubbard. Well, really? Chuba, the redshirt freshman from Canada, had not had one of his better games. Yeah. And he stood there in front of the team and said, Coach, I want to tell you about it. I'm sorry. I didn't play very well. I made a lot of mistakes. And this is a better team than what we were tonight. We're a better team than what we were. And he goes, I know other guys made mistakes too. And what we need to dedicate ourselves to is eliminating those mistakes and becoming the great team we can be. I'm over there like, okay. And that's what Mike needs. He needs some of these younger kids to really step up and become leaders. Because, if there was anything lacking on that team, and I hate to say it because it's an indictment of your upperclassmen, your seniors, but hey, you do what you can do. And if that's not your thing, you play hard. But they need some guys to step up and lead. And I think there's some younger guys that'll help him.
You know what happens, though, when you have that type of leadership the year before? Basically take over the team.
They do.
Those younger ones say, well, okay, they don't practice being the leader. They don't learn how to be a leader. And so they're not a leader. Now, that's what happened.
Well, they did it the hard way. We finished at 6-6, which means we go to our 13th straight season of Oklahoma State going to a bowl game. Back with Robert Allen, talk more about that, where the Cowboys might be heading to, and a little more about that frustrating up and down season the Cowboys have had. Stay with us.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brewhouse? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
Every minute, every day, and every night, there's someone who needs us. Every week and every year, we bring something new to the way we care for individuals and our communities. Every thought and every action is spent improving the way we imagine health and wellness. Because every child, every woman, and every man deserves the best possible life. St. Francis Health System. Healthcare for life.
At Rogers State University, we keep things personal.
It all starts here.
We make sure our graduates get the most out of their education.
RSU has campuses in Claremore, Bartlesville, and Pryor, with on-campus housing and a wide variety of programs to suit your needs.
It all starts here.
Rogers State University.
We're talking Oklahoma State sports with the guy who's the insider on it, certainly Robert Allen there. You know, on the sidelines, been roaming the sidelines for how many years now, Robert? You were Les Miles?
About 18. I was there when Les was, but I've been around OSU sports.
And you survived Pat Jones?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was there covering Pat's teams at Channel 4, and that was back, though, because I had the OU basketball beat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I was with Billy Tubbs.
Oh, how fun is that?
Yeah,
wow.
And it didn't bother me a bit, but those were fun times. Wayman, you remember all that?
Absolutely. Those are the great times.
Those were darn good teams.
Score 100, don't care how many the defense gives up. Hey, kind of like football in the Big 12.
I tell you what, I remember a game in Norman. Georgia Tech came in with Mark Price.
Yeah, that's right.
And all the guys that Bobby Crimmins had.
Yeah.
And that was on the floor at the Lloyd. That was a heck of a game.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the Big 12 and defense. My gosh, Robert, it's so frustrating. We were talking about you were on the roller coaster and we watched that OU West Virginia game on TV and stuff, and it's almost unwatchable. It's like video game football.
Yeah, and I understand how offense sells tickets. And Gil, we were talking back in the pre-production meeting about all the rules favor offense. Yeah, they do. I don't even understand what pass interference is anymore, because I see some that look like they're absolutely pass interference, no flag, and then the defender might just barely touch a guy. Boom! It's frustrating.
Now I have a question.
Okay.
And I want to admit, this just burns me.
I know
with all of the celebration that happens on a football field. If a guy makes 5 yards, he gets up and beats on his chest and all this sort of thing. Now, you had a guy over at Oklahoma State University that could score a touchdown, lay the ball down, and go back to the. What is your opinion?
It's my opinion is the same, and I was going to throw Mike Gundy in here, because he tells his players this all the time. And JV, you'd like it. He goes, you don't celebrate doing your job.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Yes.
No one makes a sale. Now you might take the wife out to dinner if you're a salesperson, you make a big sale. But you don't go out in the middle of the street and start dancing and doing this. You're doing your job. When you make a tackle, I mean, really? You're going to celebrate one tackle? So I'm
especially
with
when
you.
the team's losing by a couple
times. That drives you nuts. But you know what?
Well, he referenced Barry Sanders, who was
he did,
the best
and
of all time.
That's a different generation.
But he had that ball always handed to the official, didn't he?
Part of it may be all this stuff and getting attention and the Mike Gundy mentioned it last week, the generation whatever, that
snowflakes.
That. I don't want to get in trouble with younger people, because they're eventually going to be the leaders and everything. But I do think, and you guys know this, I think young people are different. And
sure.
I don't want to again get in trouble, but I'm going to. I wish they were a little tougher. I mean, when adversity strikes, everybody wants to change directions. Forge ahead.
I think what we do is we're so concerned. There's so many folks out there so concerned about winning at any cost.
Yeah.
That I'll let you do whatever you want to do if you can win for me. So if you want to dance, if you want to do that, that's fine, because I want to win. And I don't think we have the guts to be able to have the discipline that we have the authority to be able to have, because we do, because athletics is a privilege. It's not a right.
No, it's not.
And now the National Football League has opened the door because they're saying
all choreographed.
I mean, we went from Billy White Shoes Johnson,
a little dance,
with the first dance he ever did.
Was Dallas shooting a free throw on Thanksgiving Day?
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's kind of what I thought.
Got $21 from the guy, one of the photographers, and put it in the Salvation Army barrel. Put Dak in there afterwards.
I thought he was being real cheap, and then I realized that's his jersey number. I'm like, come on, Ezekiel, you can throw more in the Salvation Army bucket than $21. But again, I enjoy what I do, guys. I enjoy being around the kids.
Sure.
I can tell you, we had senior day, for West Virginia, and it was pretty fun. It was a pretty good day.
Wow.
But Dave Hunziker, who I work with on the Cowboy broadcast,
a Mizzou graduate,
Mizzou grad, kind of lets me pick out which kids and families we focus on in senior day. And I took Taylor Cornelius because his mom's been really nice to me. She says, you've been really supportive of Taylor. And, he's had a year where, he's had criticism as well as but he's done a terrific job.
Yeah.
And so we talked to him, and then we talked to, I'm trying to think, who was the other player? Oh, Deontay Noel. He's a backup offensive guard. I'm looking over here at the clock. We got time. A couple of years ago, we were at the Sugar Bowl, and Hunziker and I are standing on the side. We're at Tulane's new stadium where they play now. That's where the Cowboys were practicing for the Ole Miss game. And Deontay Noel's on the scout team. He runs downfield, and he cuts one of his teammates. You don't cut a teammate. So immediately there was a brouhaha. The coaches are yelling at him. I looked at Dave and said, that kid will never play here. And he admitted that his attitude about football soured, and he was just going through the motions. Well, here comes Josh Henson as the offensive line coach. Yeah. And Henson kind of resurrects the kid, gives him some direction. Now this kid, he's been a valuable backup guard. He was in there a bunch in the West Virginia game in the second half. And so I wanted to talk to him. And then the last one was Enoch Smith, Jr., who's a transfer defensive tackle from Michigan State. Plays a lot. He recovered the fumble early in the game against TCU. His story is he has a younger brother who has autism. And Enoch told me no matter what he does, whether he gets to play pro ball or whatever he does, he wants to start a foundation to help for autistic kids. Oh, nice. So, I was touched by this. So I go talk to him, and I'm meeting his brother for the first time. And I know the story. I know how much it means to Enoch. And I just tear up. I'm tearing up in the interview, and all of a sudden Enoch tears up. Well, Enoch had a good game against West Virginia, so I interviewed him again in the locker room afterwards, and we're in the commercial break waiting to go on. And Enoch goes, Mr. Allen? I said, yeah. Enoch goes, you really messed me up before the game. He goes, you teared up, and you got me all teary and crying. And when I pitched it back upstairs, Dave goes, we're going to let Robert collect himself. But here's what you do, and I know this because I've been around you long enough. You get to know these kids.
Yeah, you do, absolutely.
They're part of it. So I get to be a freshman, a sophomore, a junior, and a senior every year doing sidelines at OSU. It's a blast.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm tearing up now because I just enjoy getting to know these kids.
You're the insider of all Oklahoma State insiders, so what's the bowl picture look like? Where do you think the Cowboys will end up playing postseason?
You know what? I thought going to TCU, it was a slam dunk.
Oh, I did too.
Texas A&M and the Houston Bowl.
Fabulous. great matchup.
So I'm thinking after that game's over, oh God, there's no way. We're either heading to Memphis to the Liberty Bowl. There's nothing wrong with the Liberty Bowl. It's a good bowl. In fact, that's a tradition-rich bowl.
Yeah, sure is.
Arizona would be nice. I think Arizona is going to opt to stay out of the Big 12 since the Big 12 can't fill all their – and they're going to try and get another West team to play the Pac-12. So that leaves TCU in the Armed Forces Bowl in Fort Worth. I think they want TCU to stay home.
That makes sense.
And Patterson might do that. It'll help their bowl game. They'll get a good crowd. They can stay home and put them in a nice hotel and still do some of the activities. So that leaves Memphis and Houston. Right. That West Virginia win, that Texas win, those are going to stand up. Those are going to stand up more than the losses.
Sure.
And it looks like it'll be A&M and OSU in Houston, Baylor and Mizzou in Memphis, which makes more sense for Mizzou for sure.
Right. Unbelievable. Robert, again, you had so many years.
Has anybody ever gone that long on explaining where a team's going to a bowl game?
You're right.
It's all about how many people can you bring?
Yeah.
See, OSU has a huge alumni base in Houston.
Great.
So that's what it comes down to.
Last minute, give us some of your favorite memories, some of your favorite players. I know it's awful tough to ask all your years.
Whoa. Well, Brandon Whedon is my favorite because I remember he grew up in Edmond. Well, Zach Allen's my favorite.
Oh, that's right.
Okay. Zach Allen is the favorite.
By the way, of course, you remember his son was on us with him. Coach.
So, and I'm so proud of the job he's done at NEO.
Great job. Took him to the bowl this year again.
Yeah, he has busted his tail there. Yeah. But Brandon Whedon's from Edmond too, and I remember getting the phone call when the Kansas City Royals cut him. And he was in the airport in Phoenix, Sky Harbor Airport, and said, I want to play football. I called Larry Fedora, who just got, and said, Larry. And next thing you know, Brandon Whedon's at OSU with his dad the next day. And he turned out pretty good when Mike eventually got his butt in the game.
Well, sure they did.
I tell you what, it doesn't sound like you have many minutes off. But when you do,
I do look. Do I look like I've missed a meal, Gil?
You have not missed anything at Jimmy's Egg.
No, and hey, plenty of locations.
That's
everywhere
right.
I go.
There we go.
He's also a heck of a handicapper. I've been around him when you're really studying into the form. You do pretty well with that, Robert.
In the spring, we need to go. We need to go somewhere.
Remington Park. That's our track right there.
There you go.
Fabulous. Robert, thanks so much for coming over. I know it's a busy time of year for you. Really appreciate taking the time.
Hey, I enjoyed being with you guys.
Thank you very much.
Robert Allen, he is Oklahoma State football. And by the way, we can plug his book, More Than a Championship, story of the 2011 OSU Cowboys. And more
that was written with Mike.
With Coach Gundy, he's a co-writer. Very nice. All right, back to more on the sports scene with Jimmy's Egg right after this.
If you haven't had an opportunity to read one of the Greater Tulsa reporters, I'd like to encourage you to pick up, let's say, the Jinx District Gazette. As an example, that's one of 6 that is put out by Forrest Cameron and his wife Sharon. But if you want to read something about sports, about government, about education, about economics, it's all right here in the GTR. So there are 6 of them in metropolitan Tulsa. I encourage you to pick up one today.
Oklahoma Sportscene wants to welcome our newest title sponsor, SNB Burger Joints, the home of fresh-made gourmet burgers and sliders, great sides, hand-dipped milkshakes, root beer and soda floats, and delicious homemade pies. All served with a fun and friendly staff, and we feature a full-service bar with over 65 beers and our unique Bloody Marys. SNB Burger Joint in the Oklahoma City area and coming soon to Tulsa. It's pancake happy hour time again at Jimmy's Egg. That's right, half-price pancakes from 11 to 2 p.m. at all the Jimmy's Egg locations. Can't get any sweeter than that. And looking ahead to the holiday season, reminder that we have s'mores, hot chocolate, and new toasted marshmallow iced coffee. And for you folks that are really high-tech, how about this? Very exciting now, Jimmy's Egg has launched their very own loyalty app for the month of November. You can search Jimmy's Egg, get in on exclusive deals, earn rewards for a free meal, and order online. Jimmy's Egg, breakfast and lunch, 6 to 2. Well, it's high school football championship time in Oklahoma, and here to discuss it with us from Oklahoma City and the Oklahoman, their prep writer, Jacob Unruh. Jacob, thanks for coming over to the east side for us.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always good to make this drive and hang out with you guys.
Give us a little background for you, and I know you've been a long time with the Oklahoman.
Yeah, I joined the Oklahoman in 2011 as a copy editor and designer on the desk, and did a little high school work in my spare time after spending 3 years at the Lawton Constitution, covering high schools in that area. And then 2013, I got moved to the beat full time, and I've been covering high schools ever since across the state.
What do you think the biggest difference? We talk all the time about this east-west thing and different programs, especially football. What's your opinion of that? How is that working out for everybody?
Well, it's interesting for me because I grew up on the east side of the state. You know, I went to Caney Valley High School. I grew up in that area my entire life. I went to school at Northeastern State in Tahlequah. So I know this side of the rivalry. And then now I've been on the west side since 2008 once I graduated college. And people view it differently. I think the East sometimes I feels like view it more of a rivalry than the West does. And then sometimes vice versa. It depends on the sport. But the West seems to kind of keep to itself until they have to go play, especially in football, one of the big four.
You know, when you take a look at it, it seems like that naturally the East and metropolitan Tulsa and the large schools much stronger than what you have around Oklahoma City. But yet in other areas, sometimes I think they actually meet. As a writer for the Oklahoman, do you get much feedback on that?
Sometimes, I mean, I go where the stories are. I don't care if it's east, west, north, south, vice versa. It doesn't matter to me as a writer. I mean, you get feedback on that. You hear the West tired of, Jinx and Union. Obviously they dominate in football and they would like to get to that point themselves. and they strive for that. I talk to West coaches all the time. They pick the brains of Alan Trimble and Kirk Fredericks and guys like that, and David Alexander and now Bill Blankenship and guys. They try to get to the program, and the schools are growing out there, and they're working towards that. Norman North was close a couple times the last few years. They've been closer than anyone on the West, and but they go through those cycles just like Jinx and Union has, where you graduate a bunch and you try to rebuild, and that's what Norman North went through a little bit this year, was a rebuild, and the West will have to go through that. Santa Fe's become a bit of a power over there, and Mustang has been a power, and they're the largest school over there, and I think they're going to continue to grow.
You're not familiar with anybody, of course. We know there's a facilities war in the college ranks. It's kind of trickled out to high school. I know with TPS, you guys have really been a lot of building. Of course, you were at Union when they built that magnificent complex over there, too.
I think that's a commitment that we see over here a great deal. Union, as a matter of fact, had just passed a year ago a $22 million improvement of Union Stadium, which we opened in 1976. Tulsa Public Schools, over the past 6 years, we've approved $92 million in athletics facilities improvements. And I think when you have those types of facilities and you look around the suburban area, it was really amazing to me when we put turf in 1985. We thought everybody would put turf in after that. Well, the economy went bad and nobody had any money. And so it took about 7 or 8 years before anybody came back with artificial turf. Now, I think there's one school in Tulsa County that does not have artificial turf. Everybody, and that's just a part of the game. It was a business decision for us. How do you see the building programs around the metropolitan area in Oklahoma City?
Well, they're starting to do that a lot more. Edmond Schools has already built a separate stadium. They played for years at UCO. Right. Now they've got a stadium at Edmond Santa Fe. They just opened one this season at Edmond North. Edmond Memorial is on track to open next season. That one's a little more complicated because of space issues, so they're moving the track across the street. And that's going to be a little tight, a little tighter of a field. All the Putnam City schools are getting their own stadium too. Putnam, I think North is on track to open, I think, next season. Putnam West is being built. The Middale schools have all passed school bonds as well to renovate their stadiums at Carl Albert, Midwest City, and Dell City. Midwest City, Dell City particularly need it. Carl Albert needs some improvements too, and they're gonna renovate those places. Norman has done some renovations to their stadium. They share with Norman North, but Norman North has got a new indoor field house, some new stuff they've been building too. That they're rapidly improving out there. Moore's had some renovations, the press box and the scoreboard and new turf and things like that, and they're rapidly improving there, trying to keep up with the arms race. But I'll admit, man, I went to Owasso a couple of weeks ago, and that place is pristine right now with that video board that I have not seen it anywhere else close in Oklahoma, around there, and the turf and the new lights and everything, and that place is immaculate.
Jacob, state championship games this Friday, November 30th, 7 p.m. kickoff time. Let's start at the top, 6A1. The game will be at TU's Chapman Stadium. It is undefeated, number 1, 12-0 Broken Arrow against Jenks, 11-1. Your thoughts on that game?
This is an interesting game to me. I know Broken Arrow has been this power this year. They weren't tested until last week against Owasso. They lost 10. They won 10-7. They beat Jinx already. I picked Jinx to begin the playoffs, and I kind of caught some flack, and that's fine. And I could easily be wrong this week, but I think I'm gonna stick with Jinx. I just like the way they're playing. They're big, physical, just like Broken Arrow. They got a good quarterback in Ian Corwin. Noah Hernandez is a nice running back complement for him. They throw the ball well. I think I like them, and I know Broken Arrow's got Noah Cortez, obviously having a great season, a huge offensive line led by All-American Andrew Rame, and the defense has D1 players all over the place with Gavin Potter and I'm going blank, sorry, but Miles Slusher and guys like that that just they're all over the place, and that game I think could easily be a field goal, a touchdown difference at this point.
September 21st, it was Broken Arrow beating Jinx, 28-13. Coach, it's always that second time that was a little tougher, isn't it?
Yes, it really is. And, the thing that was crossing my mind when you were talking there is the fact that the metropolitan area in Tulsa, we talk about Jinx and Broken Arrow, they only have one high school. Now, then they talk about having more. But in Edmond, they split it up. In Norman, they split it up. And it seems to be going that way around Oklahoma City. From your standpoint, what have you heard along that line?
I know Edmonds talk about adding a 4th high school, and that's pretty much going to happen. But I think, Mustang, Yukon, you look at those schools, they're not planning to split, and Mustang's just growing and getting bigger and bigger. And I think that's going to play a factor eventually. Their head coaching position's open right now in football, and that's got to be one of the most attractive positions in the state, considering the money that goes into that system. They're building new facilities all the time. They're about to add more new facilities to everything. Their gym's incredible, and just the size of population. That place is a sitting goldmine.
6A2 finals at Owasso, Friday at 7 o'clock. It is 12-0 Stillwater, 11-1 Bixby. Give us a quick read on that game.
I've watched Stillwater a few times this season, and you can't come away really impressed with that offensive line.
Coach Gundy's son,
the offensive line leads away for Quantrill Walker, protects Gunnar Gundy, and Gundy is rapidly improving almost each week. It seems like he's a very poised quarterback who doesn't make bad decisions. He's not flashy. He's not going to wow you with some of the stuff he does, but he throws well. Quantrill Walker has been running wild on teams, and then you got Anthony Bland move in from San Diego, and he's a great receiver. And they're number 1 for a reason. They're undefeated. But I know Bixby with Mason Williams, a quarterback, has been really, really impressive, and he's rapidly developed as a sophomore too. I think 36 touchdowns going in the championship game, and he's been really impressive.
Final minute there, Jacob, real quickly. 5A finals Friday. They'll be in Edmond, Santa Fe. Ardmore 13-0. Midwest City, Carl Albert 13-0. Wow. 4A finals Friday, November 30th. Yukon High School. Tuttle 13-0. Bethany 12-1. 3A finals Friday at Western Heights with Sulphur 11-1. Heritage Hall 12-1. Some really good football over there with those divisions.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to these games. The Ardmore Carl Albert game really jumps out at me. 2 undefeated teams at this point. Carl Albert has won 35 straight games, the longest active streak in the state. My head coach Mike Corley hasn't lost as a head coach.
Wow.
He took over for Gary Rose when he retired, and he hasn't lost yet. And so, you look at the Titans with, Dadrian Taylor getting healthy and really impressive. And, I watched Tuttle last week, and you got Tuttle Bethany, a district rival rematch. Tuttle won the first one 30-7, and they're playing really well, but Sam Brandt at Bethany is too. And you look at Heritage Hall going for a 4th title in 5 years and 5 years at in 3A against Sulphur and Trey Kaiser.
The other championship game is the Class C finals at Weatherford. That's Tipton 11-2 against Southwest Covenant at 12-0. Then 2A, A, and B are playing semifinal games. Coach, something for Jacob coming all the way across the state.
Jacob, we really appreciate you coming over today, and make sure that you go by Jimmy's Egg in the morning on your way to work.
All right, I appreciate that.
Thanks for coming.
I know you're really busy.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Look forward to it. We have a very special guest, Coach, I find very interesting. Not often do we bring on Oklahoma Sportscene a former homicide cop. Stay with us.
2 Triple Crowns in the last 4 years have reawakened America to the magnificent thoroughbred. And now, we've got our own triple to celebrate. 3 decades of excitement. And it's not too late for you to get in on the action. Plan your holiday party or any event you like at Remington, and we'll make sure it's chock full of mouth-watering food, drinks that hit the spot, and all the casino and racing action you can handle. Remington's 30th. Thoroughly thrilling.
Welcome to Jimmy's Egg. Come on in.
For more than 30 years, Jimmy's Egg has been starting people's day off right with hot, fresh, made-to-order food. Our eggs are fresh, cracked to order every time, and there are over 40,000 ways to craft your own omelet. With signature favorites like our meat lover's skillet or decadent cinnamon roll pancakes, you won't leave hungry. Breakfast and lunch is available every day from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., so stop in today and let our friendly staff serve you.
Stop by and see us sometime.
Robertson Tire has been locally owned and serving Tulsa for the past 50 years, but we're much more than a tire shop. We handle alignments, oil changes, brakes, and much more. For all our services, coupons, and location information, visit us online at robertsontire.com.
Welcome back to Oklahoma Sports Scene, brought to you by Jimmy's Egg, and we have a very special guest, kind of an off-the-cuff guest for a sports program. But a guy who's getting into sports, and a guy who I think a lot of people in Tulsa know and have a lot of admiration for because of service that he gave the Tulsa public. Dave Walker, retired Tulsa PD homicide detective. Dave, thanks for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Give us some of your background, Dave. I know it's in Tulsa for decades here now.
Well, I came here in 1982. I graduated from college, needed a job, and Tulsa Police hired me in January of 1982, and stuck around till August 31st of 2018.
Wow.
Where I finally retired. Most of my background is probably in investigations.
36 years as a detective, and how many years in homicide?
7. Last
Wow.
7 in homicide.
Well, how many years at Oral Roberts University were you at the tournaments? And I remember so many times, Dave, when things would come up, and you've got that look. When you look at them, they immediately kind of settle down. And what does this man want?
Well, Coach either have the look or the size. And since I didn't have the size, you got to have a look. So things. I think most people in town are well behaved. Of course, when you get into the sports arena, emotions take over at times, and you just kind of like we just said earlier, time and distance means a big deal to a lot of people.
I asked Dave, I said, how many times you arrested JV? Only 6, was it, Dave?
I let him go a lot.
Yeah.
Well, tell us what you're doing in the field of sports now that you're retired.
Well, the idea comes along from me coaching youth baseball throughout the years. Of course, I have children, three boys, and I coach them on the way up, and I coach baseball mostly. And that's what I know. And the idea came as we lose generations. Starting in the 80s when I was in patrol, you could see lost generations where parents weren't parenting the kids, it was the grandparents. And now, you go 3 or 4 deep into that, we're losing kids. And so I started thinking, if we can win the 6-year-olds, then we can turn the tide. And so I'm in a daycare center with 4 and 5-year-olds, and we get some tennis balls out there half hour a week, and they throw it around and they hit me with them, and they mostly throw it over the fence, and so you have to jump and go get them. But we have a good diet of tennis balls, so they don't have to do that. But the idea is to teach these kids some sort of, and you all know it, once they learn a skill, and you can apply that as you get older into. I wasn't good enough to be in sports past high school. Matter of fact, in college, they told me I wasn't good enough to be there, so I had to go somewhere else. And so I became a cop. And we all learn from that practice, the learn a skill, you fail, and you keep going. And then you learn respect for authority. And I think in today's world, we're reading it daily, that people have lost respect for authority.
So boy, what a reach though, coming from homicide to preschool.
Well, it's a little different interrogation tactics, I'll tell you, but a lot of it, it's the same. I mean, they're not paying much attention to you. You got to do something to grab their attention, and with a tennis ball, you can do it a lot easier with a 5-year-old than you can with an 18 or 19.
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
Did you ever think that this was going to happen from your career, that you would go back to this with little kids?
No, not at all. And you can just see the thing kind of opens up when I was in a homicide, because I get into the media a lot and people know who I am. And then the first 48 came along, and so then you kind of go nationwide. But then you see the police community divide that's out there, and I see it from the police side. But I don't see us in the police world really getting into the community side of it. And I don't see the community getting into the police side, so that we don't understand. We know what we want. We want harmony, but how we get there is two totally different things. And I don't think we have a bridge to that area. So sports and any type of activity at the grade school level, the high school level, even in the college level, teaches that and gives us a bridge to adulthood, and that's what we need.
I can see people at home watching saying, "Why that looks familiar? That face." It's A&E, right? First 48, and how many years you're involved in that? And of course, why did they come here? Because of our murder rate of solving crimes,
well,
right?
It's like
give us those numbers. That was impressive.
We're probably solving them now upwards in the 95%. In our record years, we were over 98% solve rate.
Unbelievable.
So that's the team part of it that you see in sports. You put together a good team, and then really the leader, the coach, can kind of just let them play, and that's what we did.
That's one of the things, Dave, and you may be aware of this, but we Tulsa Public Schools had to close Helmsar because of the cost, and we've worked with Chief Jordan and some of the folks out in the Gilcrease Center to reopen Helmsar, and we have, I think, an MOU in place, and hopefully by December that'll be open as a safe place for kids, after school to be able to reopen. And it's a shame because that was a $4 million facility.
Yeah.
And to be able to open, and you're right, and it opens that area, that bridge for a kid to get involved with somebody else. And I know the police are going to be the ones who open and close every day, that facility. So we're excited about our partnership with them at Tulsa Public Schools.
Right. Like I said, there's you can see the police department working towards that. A lot of those ideas have been tried, and it's great that it's going to be continued on. I think we have to do that as an organization, but in society we also need to get into the community also and really learn respect for each other.
How can people learn more about this program, and how far do you think you'll go with it, Dave?
Well, we're going to find out how far it can go and where they can go. I'm on Facebook at ME Tours. That's the fan page. You can kind of follow.
What's that again?
ME Tours. Me Tours.
Okay.
And really, it's in the infancy stage. I've got some stuff I'm doing in St. Louis this week about the police community divide. But it's all geared towards the sporting type thing.
You'll have something for
Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, when you're not out there with the preschoolers, you can be our guest to go to Jimmy's.
Well, I'll be doggone. Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Hey, thank you for your service to our community. Thank you so much. Sure appreciate it.
Very good. Thank you.
Back with more on Oklahoma Sports Scene. Stay with us.
It's November. Oklahoma is 111 years old, and it's my birthday too. So November is Henry's birthday sale. 2018 Mitsubishis have been further reduced. Save up to $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000, or you can have 0% financing for 72 months. Come in this month and receive chances to win $10,000. Nothing to buy, just in time for the holidays. Come visit the all-new Primo Mitsubishi, 15309 South Memorial by Bixby.
Triple Crowns in the last 4 years have reawakened America to the magnificent thoroughbred. And now, we've got our own triple to celebrate. 3 decades of excitement. And it's not too late for you to get in on the action. Plan your holiday party or any event you like at Remington, and we'll make sure it's chock full of mouth-watering food, drinks that hit the spot, and all the casino and racing action you can handle. Remington's 30th. Thoroughly thrilling.
It's time now for our Remington Report on Jimmy's Egg Oklahoma Sports Scene. We're going to join Dale Day to hear about a record setter on the racetrack there in Oklahoma City. Dale?
We have featured the sprinter welder many times this season, and rightfully so. He's won 4 consecutive stakes races, made himself the front runner for the Horse of the Meeting honors, and he has also made history in the process. After Welder's 4th stakes win in the Silver Goblin Stakes on November 16th, the question came up about what horses had won 4 straight stakes races in one Remington Park season. After plenty of research, the answer is 1, Welder. He is the only horse to accomplish this feat. Somewhat amazing when you look back at a list of some of the greats in Remington Park history. Many horses managed 3 stakes wins in a season, but could not get a 4th, including Marked Tree, who won the 1993 Oklahoma Derby and 2 preceding prep stakes races. Slideshow won 3 stakes races in the fall of 1995. Highland Ice won 3 stakes in 1997, but finished 3rd in another to be denied that 4th. Devout Sinner, the only filly to test the Oklahoma Derby. She won 3 stakes races in 2001 and was 4th in the Derby. Medium Rare won 3 stakes races in 2002 but was 3rd in another, again denied the 4th win. Z06 won 3 stakes races in 2005. And the most recent to win 3 prior to this year was the Oklahoma-bred Ted's Folly, who won 6 races in the 2011 season, including the Springboard Mile. However, only 3 of those wins were stakes events. Welder has been remarkable and historic during his 2018 run of dominance at Remington Park. Checking the calendar, Remington Park is on a regular Wednesday through Saturday night racing schedule for the next 2 weeks. Don't forget the final day of the season features the $400,000 Springboard Mile and a huge 12-race program on Sunday, December 16th. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sports Scene.
Thank you, Dale. We're coming down the stretch, too. Our parting shots is coming up next. Before that, though, I want to remind you folks about Jimmy's Egg. Now's the time to book your holiday catering. If you are looking to cater family gatherings, company parties, or planning group events for holiday parties, just give Jimmy's Egg a call. They'll take good care of you, providing hot breakfast or lunch options, and they'll offer a $25 off your first catering order of $100 or more. Jimmy's Egg, of course, 21 company locations. That's 3 in Tulsa, 22 in franchise areas, and 17 in the Oklahoma City metro area. The hours, of course, 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Breakfast, lunch, whatever you want, whenever you want it, at Jimmy's Egg.
At Bricktown Brewery, we're known for our famous original craft beers like Single String Stout and Bluesberry Ale. Did you know we also brew our own root beer at our Oklahoma City brew house? It's called Attaboy Root Beer, and you'll love it no matter what your age. Just ask for a Bricktown Kids menu with all the favorites for our guests 12 and under. Bricktown Brewery opens every day at 11 a.m.
What we see isn't always what we get. A smile can hide 100 struggles. Depression, anxiety, addiction, and eating disorders affect more people than you realize. People you know. At Laureate Psychiatric Clinic and Hospital, we offer a wide range of inpatient and outpatient services to help anyone with any degree or form of mental illness. Laureate and St. Francis. Healthcare for life.
It's time for parting shots. Gil Cobb leads us off.
My parting shot today is to the BCS committee. As you go through your evaluations this week and a part of next week, just remember who beat who and when they beat them. You know, if Oklahoma beats Texas, they will have beaten everyone on their schedule. And there's only 3 other teams that can say that today: Notre Dame, Clemson, and Alabama. That's the only 4. A Purdue loss to Ohio State. Oh my goodness, how bad is that? You know, so let's think about it, BCS committee, and let's don't get upset, everybody. You know, it looks like if we don't make it there, we'll probably go to the Sugar Bowl.
My parting shot will be in recognition of Bob Patterson. He was a former All-American basketball player at the University of Tulsa, averaged almost 28 points a game back in 1955. Now, that was a lot of points in 1955, no three-point shot. But Bob Patterson was such a star at the University of Tulsa, and always did he not help the university in every way that he possibly could. And he was the first player at the University of Tulsa to have his jersey retired. Number 30, you don't see that anymore. It was Bob Patterson. And of course, you know, he had his daughter by the name of Kip, who was a great coach at Cash Hall. She also worked at Holland Hall, and she did a tremendous job there. But our appreciation to Bob Patterson.
And my parting shot is simply enjoy the conference championships. 8 of them being played this week, and then it's off to bowl season with 40 bowl games. We'll be there to talk about it all next time on Oklahoma Sportscene, so join us then.